Hey there, silly geese, quackers. This is part 8 of our series on the Hunger Games adaptation. And today we're watching the last of the other tributes fall. Foxface, Thresh, and Cato. In the books, each of these deaths expose something raw about Panem, about education, empathy, and the cost of the games. The film, though, pulls its punches, leaving the story feeling a little hollow. If you'd like to catch up on the adaptation series, check out our playlist. Let's get into it.
You need some of that too.
I'm okay.
That feels better.
Y'all need to clean your injuries. You can't just wipe medicine and blood like that.
Come on, you need it too. I don't really feel anything.
We could go home. We could. We're the only team left.
We could go home.
The medicine in the book is used to treat his blood poisoning, the infection he gets from that wound. It does not completely get rid of the injury. He continues to have the leg injury from here on out. Really, I don't know why they chose to remove his injury or her deafness at this point. I don't think that it's a good idea to portray people who go through this kind of trauma, who have to endure this sort of violence, to show them coming out completely uninjured, unaltered. It doesn't reflect well on us for us to need our heroes to be whole. To be clear, I don't think that having a disability makes anything wrong with you as a person. I'm just saying that it doesn't reflect well on us that we can't accept that after enduring this kind of torture, essentially, that we can only accept heroes that are uninjured or don't have any lasting effects from participating in this sort of violence. I don't know, I have very weird feelings about this.
We should probably hunt around here. We don't have any food left.
Okay, I'll take the bow. I'm just kidding. I'll go pick some stuff.
We are also seeing Peeta here take his own initiative to go and collect things, despite the fact that there is no reason to believe that he would have any knowledge of what is available in the wild. Katniss has to explicitly explain to him what foods around are edible when this scene happens in the books, and that's why we have what's about to happen is he is unaware of what he's looking for. We're taking it for granted. Maybe the people who made the film assumed that we would take it for granted that the people of the districts would have free access to knowledge the same way that we do, because under what circumstances would Foxface be that well informed about edible plants the way that they portray her in the training montage? Why would Peeta know what plants are edible out there? It doesn't really make any sense. It also undermines how much of the Hunger Games novels emphasize lack of knowledge, lack of skills, because people are specifically trained to be useful in the industries that their districts do. So District 12 people learn the skills that they would need to mine coal, and that's about it. I find it concerning that they don't acknowledge these gaps in knowledge that would inevitably be experienced by every tribute, to varying degrees, but every tribute would have gaps in their knowledge because of how they're trained. To be trained specifically for a job and not for becoming a fully developed person is a problem. Maybe we don't recognize that anymore, but I think that that is part of the point for having it so heavily featured in the Hunger Games. We need to be well-rounded people in order to be useful citizens to ourselves and to each other.
Are you okay?
I heard the cannon. That's nightlock, Peeta. You'll be dead in a minute.
I didn't know.
You scared me to death. Damn you.
I'm sorry.
maybe Cato likes berries too.
What time is it?
Well, afternoon.
Why is it getting so dark?
Must be in a hurry to end it.
And once again, we're back here to discuss how they have reduced Peeta to a naive player in the games. He would never ask a question like this about why it's suddenly dark even though it's the afternoon. He understands the games at least as well as everyone else. Later, when the mutts are slowly ripping Cato apart, Katniss asks Peeta why the game makers won't kill him, and his response is, "You know why." He's not confused about what the games are. So there would never need to be a question like this.
Ready, Lucia?
Right here, sir.
That's great.
I don't think we understand the purpose of mutts. Katniss mentions in Mockingjay that the best mutts are not only lethal, they do psychological damage to their victims. So the choice here to not make the dogs look like the tributes that have passed already severely changes the psychological impact of these final scenes. It also maybe miscommunicates to the real life audience what the Capitol is capable of, because having these obscene dog-like creatures that directly or that look almost exactly like the tributes that you had to kill in order to be able to go home, that'll mess you up. Having these, I don't know, dire pit bull type things chasing you around, yeah, it's terrifying, but it is not on the same psychological level as what we see in the book.
What was that?
It's the finale.
Obviously, having Thresh killed by the mutts instead of by Cato, as is implied in the original story, also changes the emotional stakes between Katniss and Cato. In the books, when Thresh dies, Katniss is pretty devastated, actually. She's kind of in denial when she first finds out that's what's happening, or that's what's happened, and then she can barely taste her food, I believe is how they describe it. She's very upset by it, and I don't think that this honors that at all. And the reason that that is important is because in these interactions, what we're seeing is camaraderie with fellow districts. This will help her when she has to do her victory tour speech in Catching Fire. This emotional impact that we're seeing it have on her at this point in the books. She's so dismissive of it here. So again, we have this portrayal of Cato being a lot more calculated than the Cato that we see in the books. He's up there waiting to attack them instead of running by them.
Shoot. And we both go down and you win. Go on. Anyway. It always was, right? No, that's so now. How's that? Is that what they want? Huh? Huh? No. Nah. I can still do this. I can still do this. One more kill. It's the only thing I know how to do. Bring pride to my district. Not that it matters.
I hate that monologue so much because that's not how he would have felt about it. We don't see anything like that. And this scene to the end is so much more brutal in the books than what we get in the movie. Part of that's probably just a rating issue. Alright, so what we get is Cato's holding Peeta in sort of a headlock. Peeta is clawing at Cato's arm, but weakly, as if confused over whether it's more important to breathe or try to stem the gush of blood from the gaping hole that the mutt left in his calf. I aim one of my 2 arrows at Cato's head, knowing it'll have no effect on his trunk or limbs, which I can now see are clothed in a skin-tight, flesh-colored mesh. Some high-grade body armor from the capital. Was that what was in his pack at the feast? Body armor to defend against my arrows? Well, they neglected to send a face guard. Cato just laughs, shoot me, and he goes down with me. He's right. If I take him out and he falls to the mutts, Peeta is sure to die with him. We've reached a stalemate. I can't shoot Cato without killing Peeta too. He can't kill Peeta without guaranteeing an arrow in his brain. We stand like statues, both of us seeking it out. And that is the whole exchange. Peeta draws an X on Cato's hand, and we have essentially the same thing that happens here. But there's no monologue, because there wouldn't be room for that kind of thinking, really, in this situation. So I understand that the monologue is meant more to help the audience understand the position that the tributes are in, since we can't be inside their heads. But I don't think it was good to have Cato be that voice. I think that having Katniss or Peeta talk about that, maybe when they were in the cave, would have done better. Obviously, if this were real life and that's how Cato felt, he could obviously say that. But it would be difficult to televise it, right? The Capitol wouldn't want people to see that, and usually when there's something that the Capitol wouldn't want people to see, they would transition to a different place, but this is practically the finale at this point, so they'd have nowhere to shift attention to. This would not have played well in the games, so maybe that's why we don't get a scene like that, we don't get a monologue like that at the end. This is not the only time we see them do this with the movies either. So I think it's more signaling to the audience. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think that these monologues are helpful, important, or does it show distrust with the audience? Because that's kind of how I feel. That they don't think that we understand what the experience of the tributes, specifically the career tributes, would be. Maybe it's because they didn't spend enough time and attention on those, and we don't get the same understanding that we would in the books. I'm not sure. But I've always found these moments, I think Coral does it, at least, in Ballad. I don't feel that it's trusting the audience to understand the meaning and the feelings behind the text. If you're trying to understand war on a larger scale or military service through the experience of these tributes in this game, which I think is a possible interpretation, then recognizing that choosing to participate and go into training and then being sent into war and potentially having that war cost you your life is a good way to understand Cato. And his monologue there is probably something soldiers have thought in previous wars, and perhaps now, I'm not sure, I haven't been in a war zone. Thank God for that. And I think that there's a place for that. This just wasn't it, is maybe my stance on it. All the same, I think that it's a pretty significant shift from the books. I think this is a good change, having it be shorter, because it's brutal. It's a brutal overnight experience for Katniss and Peeta in the books. And that's part 8. In the books, these last 3 deaths tell us something about power. The ignorance it breeds, the empathy it kills, and the blind loyalty it demands. The film trades all of that complexity for a more sympathetic and easy to understand ending. No scars, no disability, no horror that lasts too long. Just a clean arrow out. Why? Maybe because if we exposed the truth of the situation, we might realize how similar the games are to the reality we live in. But who knows? Next time we will head into the berry trick, the fallout, and whether this movie is a great adaptation. I hope you'll join us. Quackers?